Today is Wednesday the 13th, making today's math, knowledge, understanding, all being born to culture freedom. Knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence, and understanding is that crystal clear picture drawn up in the mind from knowledge and wisdom. Culture is your way of life, your true way of life, not the way of life you've been given or taught to adapt, but your true way of life. And freedom is to free the dumb. Peace. Welcome back to YANADAMEEN GODCAST. I'm Lord Jamar.
Digga, putting headphones back on.
Okay. If you joined us earlier, you'd be like, damn, there's some red cups just automatically appeared in the frame. Well, we're going to keep it totally transparent with you, we just had an impromptu fish fry.
Since we last saw you.
Woo! We had an impromptu fish fry. Damn, that shit was good. Shout out to my man Grim. Fucking he
out there on the deep fryer.
What? He got the deep fry. He got the whiting with the motherfucking wheat bread. And now I got a little taste cup. It's almost like a family affair up in this motherfucker here.
Hot sauce in the bag.
Okay. So if you'd like to donate to the show, not that we'll use your money to have fish fries, but if you'd like to donate to the show, you can go to cash.me/$YANADAMEEN, patreon.com/YANADAMEEN, or YANADAMEEN.com/support. So
nothing wrong with spending donations on fish fries. Hey, gotta feed the messengers.
Hey, this is true.
Can't get the message if the messenger is hungry.
Messenger ain't fair.
Right.
Can't tell a message on a hungry stomach. This is true. Damn, that shit would good, Grim. Anyway.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Part himself. He said it. Al said, you know I'm gonna make it harder too. Get that shit some bass in the edit.
While we being transparent, let me take a sip.
Hey, fuck it. I rocks with y'all. That's how good the shit. I said, damn, that shit was good. You know it was good when you kind of let out a little belch right out. You know what I mean?
Pretty fucking funny.
Woo. All right, so when we left, we were talking about our top MCs, going through time, our top groups and all of that.
You pretty much covered all of the late 70s guys.
Well, the early 80s, up until about 83.
So I was still a baby.
Just to recap real quick, I hit you with like Kumo D, Treacherous 3, Grandmaster Caz from the Cold Crush 4.
Because I was still a baby.
Exactly. I told you were a fetus, girl. You still attached to umbilical cords. You was, you know, what's that stuff called? The afterbirth was like right there.
Right.
Anyway, Melly Mel and the Furious 5. Now shout out to all the DJs and stuff of this time too. Like Treacherous 3, I know they had Easy Lee was
Cool
the DJ. Well, I'm just talking about the DJ of these particular groups.
Oh, okay. True.
Like Grandmaster Caz, they had 2 DJs. I thought that was kind of dope. So they had Charlie Chase and Tony Tone. Now Charlie Chase was Puerto Rican, which I also thought was kind of dope because the Puerto Ricans been in hip hop since the beginning.
Absolutely.
You know. Now I'm not one to separate, you know, and say, oh well, Puerto Rican is something. You know, I see Puerto Rican people as black people basically, but you know. We want to specify, you know, certain geographical locations.
But they had their place in hip-hop.
Well, definitely. And we talked about Tito last
that's my
episode
guy.
from the Fearless 4. Who else? Prince Whip. That's another Puerto Rican MC. Prince Ruby D. There was a lot of Puerto Rican brothers, and especially in the breakdance, you know, Crazy Legs and all that. Yeah, they had that shit locked. So. I thought that was dope. And Melly Mel, of course, the Furious 5 with Grandmaster Caz, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious 5, who are actually also Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees.
Dope.
And Melly Mel is actually someone Kaz too, actually. I'm we'll be getting up here at some point to talk with us. But anyway, so we hit Spoonie G, Curtis Blow, Run-DMC. And then during the fish fry, my man Harold said that maybe I skipped past a couple of groups like Whodini. Okay, who he did give a good analogy. Like Whodini kind of was like the flashy Run-DMC. You know what I mean? Like
I can see that.
They had the jewelry and the girls, and Run-DMC was more, the way they dressed was more street.
Yeah, I was about to say they definitely came.
Yeah, Whodini, they was rocking leather shorts and all this type of shit, which I did not approve of. Let's stop and talk for a second. Whodini and those leather shorts.
Hey, who likes short shorts?
We like short shorts.
These short ass leather shorts. Even back then, I believed that those shorts was too fucking short, and that's not some shit I ever would have wore. Now, would I have wore a leather suit? Not shorts, but like leather suits was dope back in the days, but they couldn't be all tight like Eddie Murphy, Delirious, or whatever the fuck leather suit he was wearing. Where that shit was mad tight. But niggas used to wear leather suits back in the 80s and all that type of shit.
Right.
And as long as they wasn't too tight, that was some fly shit.
You know what's interesting? Because whenever we criticize how the new generation dresses and stuff,
yes,
everybody's favorite go-to is, the guys from back in the day.
Yeah, look at how Grandmaster Flash and them dress. Well, guess what? I didn't like that shit back then, and I don't like that shit now. Okay?
But you know what's crazy? They didn't even like it. If you listen to these guys talk now in documentaries, they'll say, look, we were modeling ourselves after disco stars,
or like George Clinton and them. Exactly. That's who they was modeling themselves.
Like hip hop,
P-Funk and all that.
Hip hop is a direct descendant of disco, so they wanted to emulate the disco stars.
They thought that's what you had to do,
right, in
order to further yourself as an entertainer. They thought that that's how an entertainer dressed.
Right.
Yet at the same time, Harold's going to show right now a flyer of the Cold Crush where these dudes was dressed like gangsters. I mean, they even had the Tommy gun and all of that. And they had the gangster suits with the gangster hats and all, you know what I mean? Like, and that was some fly shit. And they used to be on flyers like that. So it wasn't all about this leathers and chains. That was some shit that some of these groups was experimenting. And I'm telling you, I wasn't fucking with it back then. I was like, for instance, the first hip hop show I ever went to, right, was at Roseland in the city. And it was Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. Planet Rock. Okay? This song is, crazy hot at the time. Now, I knew the Soul Sonic Force from their tapes. So, when it was their chance to make a record, they came out with Planet Rock. And I didn't understand. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like
you didn't like the European fusion.
Well, see, what they were trying to do, because a break beat that we used to use at the time was a break beat by the name of Numbers from a group called Kraftwerk, a German group called Kraftwerk who made electronic music. God damn, this fish fry. Right. Trans Europe Express. Mm-hmm. That's trans. A chick. Numbers is. It's like much faster. He gonna play it. Those
two records.
Those are only two records that Kraftwerk ever made that niggas was fucking with.
Right.
Okay?
I think one was a side A, one was a side B.
I don't know. Well, yeah, because they was on this album and shit. I remember the album and they looked like robots and shit like that on the fucking album. And those two songs was on there. And those were two staples in hip hop. Mm-hmm. So they used elements of that and kind of recreated but they did some other shit. And just the way they was rhyming on Planet Rock, to me, was a little weird. It was not what I was used to for normal hip hop. But loving hip hop so much, and, you know, it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So we would take basically any hip hop we can get.
Right. Plus, you got to remember, at that time, see, hip hop wasn't so segregated then the way I think, like now, I'm talking about the radio stations, like right now, how you have this station, excuse me, your Hot 97s, your Powers, they only play hip hop. If you want to listen to, you know, if you want to listen to R&B, you have to go to, well, at that time, you had to listen to 98.7 KISS.
BLS and KISS.
Right, BLS. Like, the stations, I feel like.
But for the hip hop I was listening to, you had to listen to WHBI.
But I feel like back then you would hear a Blondie record and a Kraftwerk record and a Curtis Blow record. You would hear all of these records on one station.
Not necessarily.
No,
not necessarily.
I did. I never distinguished the difference.
Hip hop, you heard Blondie on those type of. You would only hear that type of. You know, Fat Five Freddy going, everybody stop, whatever, that Rhapsody song, whatever the case may be, because that was kind of like a black song for her. But you're not going to hear other Blondie shit. You understand what I'm saying? Blondie was a punk rock artist.
But I mean, like now, how if you turn to those stations, you hear the same rap songs, and like back then, like you wouldn't hardly
hear rap, but you'd hear all the same R&B songs.
But you would hear a Madonna song on the same station. You would hear.
But Madonna was making black music at that time. Like, if you really remember when Madonna first came out, see, you was such a baby, so it's such a it's. Is
still, it all a blur to me?
It's fuzzy to you.
I'm like, okay, so
Madonna came in almost like a Puerto Rican broad.
No, you're
like
right.
Like the way she used to dress and the kind of music that she made.
Holiday.
All of that was like kind of how the Puerto Ricans was moving, like, and that's how a lot of white people would blend in back in the day. You had a lot of white people that would fake Puerto Rican.
They throw the cat
in order to like,
on, the eyeliner on, and,
to try to, but they
and
they start talking like, they from the Bronx or some shit, you know, but. Yeah.
Get them some black dick.
So, and that's what she was doing. Like, trust me, I know dudes that said they knocked off Madonna when she was nobody back in the Roxy's, getting head in the bathroom and all that from Madonna when she was just a regular broad. Allegedly. This is what they were saying. I wasn't there for that, but this is what I heard. Anyway, what I'm saying, music has always kind of been segregated. Like, those labels were, those radio stations, those was the black stations. You understand what I'm saying? And we was listening to black stations that would play some white people that were making blackish music.
That's what I'm hearing. But we know now in real life that those
still
people
was super
did not
segregated.
Want to play rap music.
Come on. And even
especially
the black stations didn't. BLS had a ban against hip hop at one point. They banned hip hop. They thought it was so, detrimental to the culture and to, our youth and all of that, where we're not going to play this savage music, basically. So it wasn't that. What it was is we would take some dope shit from no matter where it came from.
Right.
That's what it was. Like, if we found the funk, you see what I'm saying, within some kind of music, it didn't matter.
The break.
Yeah, as long as the break was dope, it didn't care. Like Big Beat, for instance. Boom, ba-da, boom, boom. Bah. That's Billy Squire. Some white boy named Billy Squire. I don't know who the fuck found that. Who the fuck nigga was listening to Billy Squire, because the rest of that song is some white boy bullshit that we would never listen to. But that beginning, boom, ba-da, boom, boom, bah, that was just such a hip-hop staple. And... if you want to say, well, that's how white people were involved in early hip hop, that's the only way they were involved, was us taking some of their music and making it hip hop. You see what I'm saying? But before that, Billy Squire didn't want to be involved with hip. He probably didn't even know he was using his record like that. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the times that we were in. But okay. Oh, okay. So let me get back to my original story.
Back to.
I went to the Palladium.
Okay.
I see Soul Sonic Force. So not only at first when I heard Planet Rock, when I first heard it, I was like a little weirded out, but I was like, I grew on me. This is all we had. All right, it's dope. It's a hit song. Now I get a chance to go see them at the Palladium. I was not ready for what I saw. You see what I'm saying? Like, in no mind did I did not imagine that these guys were gonna come out with like capes and like, you know what I mean? Like suits with like space. One had a spaceman suit and one had an Indian chief and the other one. It was just like, what is this shit?
Looking like village people.
Yeah, looking like some crazy spaced out George Clinton village
I'm about to
people.
say, don't you say it.
Whoa.
Nothing. You better not. You better not.
I don't know what you thought I was gonna say, but okay, I'm not gonna say it.
I was bracing for impact. I'm sorry.
You can't even say the word space around here at all. You just can't. You say space, I need some space. Wait, where's he going with this? So they had on some crazy, weird shit, basically their costumes, and I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not feeling this. Like, I'm not feeling what they had on. Like, although the show was great, you know what I mean? Yeah. They ended up ripping it and like, you know, but on the way home, I'm like, so what do we think about? What y'all think about those outfits? Like, do we like those? Like,
well, thank God my first rap show was a Juice Crew show. By the time I was able to sneak in Sensations with my fake ID, I don't know, I was like 12.
Right.
And I had an ID that said I was 18. And the security, he looked at me. I'm like this skinny, scrawny little string bean. He looked at the ID. He looked at me. He looked back at the ID just like, go ahead, yo. Just go ahead. Enjoy the show. Just
man. Well, so it was shit like that. It was also things like just how they would try to recreate the breakbeats back then. Like the breakbeat was just so hard and dirty and gutter, and it was just like that whole Sugar Hill era. Mm-hmm. You know, with the pow pow boogie and the big bang bang, like shake it, don't break it. What's that, birthday party? All that type of, you know, where it had the band coming in trying to replay the breakbeats. I was not happy with that era of rap. But we had to deal with it because this was it. Like, we thinking, I guess there's the tape ones, and then when you make a record, this is how it gotta sound. Like, because I didn't understand why they just wasn't using the records.
Because we, you know, unbeknownst to us, there was publishing and things of that nature.
Exactly.
The business side of it.
So I guess they were saying, because they still had to take a hit by replaying it. Mm-hmm. You're still taking a hit, but not the mechanical royalties as far as you'd have to pay that group that played it over. You see what I'm saying? And maybe somebody had to learn their lesson from Rapper's Delight, because that seemed like that was straight off that was sample right there. You see what I'm saying? That was the chic shit, and that was part of what made it dope. Mm-hmm. If they would have tried to replay that chic, you know,
it wouldn't have
the
been
good
the same.
Times, it wouldn't have been the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have sounded fucking corny, which a lot of that shit did. But again, we didn't have the luxury of 24 hours a day, you know, all you can eat hip hop, you know. We had to get this shit whenever the fuck we can get it. So when it came on the radio, that was a privilege. And or if you saw a new rap record in the store, because I used to go to the record store just looking for new rap records to come out. You might have never even heard, but if you see something come out from Sugar Hill, fuck it, you gonna get it. You see something come out from Enjoy, Sleeping Bag on it, you gonna get it.
So let me ask you this, because since it's really impossible, like when you see people talk about, who's your top five? Who's your top five?
There is no top five.
Because there's so many components. Who's your number one?
Who's my number one?
You got a number
of
one?
All time?
Yeah.
Yes, Jay-Z.
Okay.
Jay-Z, hands down.
Okay.
Only because he has the longest run. He has the strongest overall body of music, as far as hits.
I say complete package. Like,
yeah, he's
just hits,
authenticity. Yes, everything about it. Like, yes, everything. Jay-Z.
Woman. The hottest chick in the game. Like, you go, Jay.
Jay-Z, hands down, is my number one
greatest of all time.
Rapper, greatest of all time.
Okay.
And I know probably a lot of people, the God didn't say Rakim. Yo, listen, I love Rakim to death. You know what I mean? But, how many albums did Rakim really put out? You see what I'm saying? Compared to how many Jay-Z put out. It's like
I think 13 or 14 number ones, and
not
that
yes,
charts
I don't
and sales.
even care about that. It's just about.
I'm just throwing that. That's just a fun fact.
It's just about the consistency,
right?
And then just the social impact, all of that. Like
he'll make his hits. He will battle.
Right. Like Jay-Z was just definitely the all around, But Rakim, he's up there. And another one that's up there that people better not forget is LL.
Oh, yeah.
Like, LL is a strong GOAT candidate as well, but I think he falls shy to Jay-Z because he's had more misses than Jay-Z has. You see what I'm saying? Like, I can't remember a whole, like maybe the album with "I Touch You With 100 Gold," whatever album that was of Jay-Z, that might have been his only miss. If you're gonna,
I think that might have been around the time like he was like behind the scenes still with Beyonce. That like "Excuse Me, Miss," and like he kind of got a little lovey-dovey somewhere along the line.
I'm talking about when he did the shit. He was still. It was right after Reasonable Doubt, and he had did a song with Babyface and all this type of shit. I forget what album that was, but I feel like that album was maybe not as strong as some of his other albums. Wow. And he'll probably say that too.
And he's one of those type of artists where like I don't really compare him to other artists. I compare him to his own bodies of work. I compare him to his own albums. I don't really compare him to other rappers.
Right.
I compare his albums just with each other.
Because he's at such a high level that it is hard to compare.
Right. And the same with Nas. I think Nas might be my how you just described Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. That for me, that person is Nas. I think lyrically, he's definitely had. So my only critique of Nas is I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of his production, but I do like the fact that only Nas can do that. Like Nas can do things with certain records that only Nas will do. Like anybody else, it'll just be a whack ass record. But Nas is so like, he's so eloquent with his rhyming. Like he's gonna find a way to make that shit dope, and it's just gonna be some dope ass Nas shit. So for me, that person is Nas. However, my personal GOAT is and always will be Coogee Rap. He is a person that, like, for one, he literally taught me, and I've said this in a previous show, like he literally taught me how to construct what I look at as a dope 16-bar verse. And to this day, he can still drop projects that are dope from start to finish. Yep. No fast forwards. Damn, do they still fast forward in the digital age? Like no, there's no fast forwarding a Coogee Rap song for me to present day. And when I put together like lists, like when people ask me who my top 5, like I always have 2 different lists. Like I have one list which is like an impact legacy list. Like, doesn't necessarily mean these people are the dopest MCs. It doesn't necessarily mean that like they still got it to this day, because that is also a criteria of greatest of all time to me, meaning you have to be able to transcend from one generation to the next.
Right.
But I do have a impact legacy list, and I do have like that, like the motherfucker still digging your ass lyrically 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later. Would you like to hear mine?
Well,
Would you like to hear mine?
I would like to hear yours.
Actually, I was
when we get back.
Ooh. Yeah, we really do got a two-part show.
Sorry, bass. It's the absence of all confusion. United we stand, divided we fall. Peace. Together. Welcome back to the YANADAMEEN GODCAST. I am Lord Jamar.
And I'm Digga.
To donate to the show, go to cash.me/$YANADAMEEN. Patreon.com/YANADAMEEN.
Available at
Whodini.com/support.
Get yours today.
So we've been talking.